come the many, in the many shines one. Of all the forms there are not any that have not come from the one. Smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, the light beyond all darkness, the love within our hearts. In the stillness of the mountains, in vast skies of brilliant blues, in ancient worlds and modern cities, that wondrous light of light shines through. Brighter than the brightest, higher than the highest, deeper than the deepest, the love within our hearts. Across this world are many people, so many creatures great and small. We are all children of the Mother. She is the one who made us all. Beauty of all beauty, yet beyond both time and space, still dwelling in each moment, bestowing on us her grace. From the one has come the many, in the many shines the one. Of all the forms there are not any that have not come from the one. Smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, the light beyond all darkness, the love within our hearts. The light beyond all darkness, the love within our hearts.
Om Asato Ma Sadagamaya Tamaso Maham Jyotirgamaya Mrityormam Amritam Gamaya Avir Ahavir Maedhi Rudra Yate Dakshinam Mukha Tena Maham Pahinityam. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. And reach us through and through ourselves, and evermore protect us from ignorance by thy sweet, compassionate face. So my subject this morning is Vedantism. And I take my title from a lecture given by Swami Vedarupananda in India in 1897. In which he outlines the principles of the Vedanta philosophy, and more broadly of Vedantism, that is the worldview of the Upanishads. Is Vedanta very ancient teaching, and over the course of thousands of years, different philosophical schools and different religious sects, doctrines, and dogmas have arisen. But all of them derive from the same source, that is, from the ancient Vedantic wisdom. And therefore this morning I'd like to just step back a little bit and consider some of those core beliefs which all Vedantists share. First is with regard to the source of scriptures and inspiration. All Vedantists hold that the Vedas are the primary source of spiritual authority. That is, the Vedas are like the Bible of modern Hinduism. And yet, by the Vedas, no book is meant. Rather, the word refers to the accumulated wisdom, that is, the universal body of truth statements that exists throughout eternity. We could call it the knowledge of God, but it existed before the creation of this world. The Vedas were not created. They were not written. They do not owe their authority to any single person or to any personal God. These are universal principles, like the theory of gravitation, discovered by saints and sages, that is, more technically by rishis or seers, who in their superconscious meditations had revelations of these eternal truths. The Vedas have no beginning and they have no end. That is, there's no founder. This Vedanta is not founded on a particular person, is not founded on a set of teachings by some supernatural God in heaven. These are not inspired works. That is, there's not as if something inspired men to compose and write these verses of the texts, of which we only have a very few fragments. Rather, these Vedic texts are what we have today, passed down, handed down, unchanged for thousands of years, from guru to disciple. Kind of represent that ancient teaching. And so therefore, in sharing this ideal of the Vedic, the ancient Vedic eternal wisdom, the idea is that these are principles of spirituality that are universal and which we don't have to believe in. We don't have to have faith in the Vedas. All we have to do is to recognize that we ourselves, that a human person has body, mind, soul, and spirit, that we have the capacity, we have the higher ability to intuit and to know super conscious, supernatural truths. And thus the rishis, who are our authorities in that they had purified their minds, and they lifted their minds and they tuned their radios to the super conscious frequency, that they apprehended these eternal teachings. And we also, our ultimate authority. Why? Because we ourselves can verify them in our own personal experience. So let's talk about, that's thought number one. Let's talk here about the story of creation. We know that in the beginning, there was one only without a second. That is the self, the Atman, Brahman existed. From Brahman came the prana and the akasha, and the causal worlds evolved. And with the prana vibrating, the causal became the subtle, and subtle thoughts and percepts arose. And those subtle elements combined to form grosser, concrete, material elements. And so we have the 5 subtle elements, the 5 gross elements, from the causal to the subtle to the gross. And thus is the world of manifestation appears to us. It sounds like an ancient theory of evolution. But the accounts in the Upanishads are not about evolution. They're about involution. Evolution is what starts now, when we ourselves, when humankind appears on the earth, and there's plants and animals. And the great cycle continues, now beginning to what began with cycling downwards and outwards, and is now inwards and upwards. This is the great cycle of being, which is the hallmark of Indian wisdom. Everything moves in cycles and circles. And it's just as we ourselves. At night, we're walking around here, and then at night we fall asleep. We go from the gross state, which we apprehend, sense objects, the subtle world of dream, and then go deeper into dreamless sleep, in which we again cycle up through dreaming, the subtle and the gross. And so, as it is in the macrocosm, so it is in the microcosm, the great wheel, the great cycle of time continues to work in our lives. So look at this world, and we see around us, we see everything has come from, what is the source? Well, everything has arisen from God. Everything has being preserved, it is maintained by God. And to everything in God, everything in this world will return. But as everything in this world, we look around, has been made by God, that is by Brahman, the God of Vedanta, then we may say, well, why is there so much, therefore, imperfection in the world? Why is there so much suffering? Why is there so much injustice? And misery in this world. And so we can move to another foundational concept in Vedantic wisdom, and that is the great law of karma. Why do we suffer? It has nothing to do with God. God remains like the lamp in the theater. The audience comes and the performance takes place and everyone leaves. The lamp continues to burn unchanged. Rather, the cause of our suffering is our own self-conscious, free will, volitional actions. Our own karma. Every time that we act, we make karma. That is, self-conscious, volitional action. Our karma has its effects, and thus we see these effects in the world around us. This is the great, this is a cosmos. This world in which we live is a cosmos. It's not a chaos. There's no randomicity. There's no luck. There's no chance. There's no just things bouncing off the walls happening without any causal chain. Things happen because they, as we're talking about now, human suffering, our first existential concern. These things happen by our own self-conscious volitional action. This is the law of karma. That is the law of cause and effect. It's a universal, eternal, natural, moral law. Every event has a cause. Every event has an effect. Actions have consequences. Every time we make an action, every time that we act, there are two consequences which are considered by the students of the law of karma. The very first one is that action has a direct, immediate effect on our character, on our soul life. That action, that consequence, it takes place immediately. A good action makes a good person. A bad action makes a bad action. That is, it changes your character. It changes your self of who you are. The second effect of every action is indirect and delayed. So one is direct and immediate. The other is indirect. It's delayed. It goes out from ourselves and cycles around like a boomerang. What goes around comes around. It returns again to ourselves in the form of auspicious circumstances or of difficulties and sufferings in life. This is our karma. All that we are today is the result of what we ourselves have done in the past. All that we will be tomorrow is the result of what we ourselves do in the present. We are not other determined. There's no forces outside of ourselves. There's no gods and goddesses apart from ourselves, no goddesses of fate and fortune who determine our destiny. But rather it's our own self-conscious volitional action. We are not other determined. We are self-determined. Now there's another basic concept which goes along hand in hand with this doctrine of karma, the law of karma. and that is reincarnation. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. That's the law of karma. And yet we look around us, we see ourselves, we see very clearly that that is, the law of karma seems to imply that there is a great law of justice. And yet as we look around in our everyday experience, we find that doesn't seem to be justice. It's bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. Virtuous people suffer. How do we understand that? Well, this is the doctrine of reincarnation of the soul. That is, that we have lived before, and we will continue to have life after life. And that we have to step back and get a larger perspective on our own course of our life's history. And we've gone for thousands of lifetimes before, and will continue on in the future in order to get an understanding of the mural on the wall. You can't understand it. You're standing up very close to it. You step back and get the perspective on those actions. Who is it who transmigrates, that is, who is born, and who goes maybe to heaven or to hell, and then again is reborn again on the earth to continue on the journey of karma? Because in these afterworlds we make no karma, we just balance the books. So it's only when we return to this karma bhumi, that is this earthly plane. It doesn't have to be the planet Earth. And we don't have to have human DNA necessarily, but we're still persons. And when we act, those self-conscious volitional actions leave their impressions. Who is it that's acting? Well, it is ourself. We can say that it is our soul. This is the teaching of the wisdom of the East, that you have an essential nature. You have a self. You have a soul. And it's not just that you have a soul, but that you are the soul. And it is your soul that, when the flesh and blood body dies, the soul, in the form of the subtle and the causal body, continues on in his journey, creates another subtle body, and continues on to work out its karma. You will be reborn again in life after life, and so in a great wheel of transmigration called samsara, in life after life. This is our soul. The jivatman, it's called. In Sanskrit, that is the living self. Now from that we go to another fundamental, that is the most fundamental, the cardinal, foundational concepts. That is truth statements of the Vedanta philosophy, and that is the teachings about the Atman and Brahman. Of the Jivatman, we say that we have a soul. You have a nature. You have a soul. But the subject of the soul is the self. That is, we have a conscious I consciousness. That is ourself. That is, when we say I am, we refer to the body and the mind, to the embodied self. But there is an I am. There's an I of the I. There is an I am that is consciousness per se, pure consciousness, which is our true self. It's our true nature. So we have the Atman and we have the Jivatman, body, mind, soul, and spirit. A natural metaphor for this consciousness, our self-consciousness, is light. Light is a consciousness is a light source. You are a light source. And the Sanskrit Indo-European root for light is div. That is divinity. Consciousness is the divinity within us. It's the God within us. And, another word for this consciousness is the spirit. And the teaching of Vedanta philosophy is that you are the spirit. You are pure consciousness. Spirit, by its very definition, is immaterial. It's beyond space. It's eternal. It's immortal. It's beyond time. It's beyond causation. It has no limits. Spirit is, by definition, it is unlimited. The spirit, that means yourself. Yourself with a capital S, we can say. Really, there's only one self. But sometimes we say, okay, the capital S or the small s? Well, it's the same spirit within us. That is the divinity within us, which is one only without a second. So there's only one consciousness. There's only one being. So this is the Atman. The Atman is the pure consciousness which is behind our own individual body and mind. But just as the Atman stands behind our own individuality, so also in the cosmos, in the universe, in everything, in the sum total of everything, there's also a universal self. It's called the Paramatman. So we have the Atman and the Paramatman, same. One is the foundation of your own individual sense of self. The other is the foundation of the self of the universe. That's Brahman. That's God. That's the personal, impersonal God of Vedanta, Brahman. The Paramatman, that is pure consciousness. We say that God is a universal universal and an individual in his impersonal, personal God. In his impersonal aspect, Brahman is infinite, unlimited, one only without a second. It's nameless, formless, and yet it is the source of all names and forms. It appears as all persons, of all individual beings in the world. That is, everything has a soul. Everything, all the sum total of all the souls is the Paramatman, that is a universal soul. And this is Brahman. This is the we can visualize Brahman in the form of a cosmic man. You think of him as in the Rig Veda, the most ancient of the scriptures. Just checking the time here. Rig Veda, most ancient of the scriptures in the world. The hymn called the Purusha Sukta, the hymn addressed to the cosmic man. The cosmic man is the Purusha. He has thousands of heads and thousands of arms and legs. He has thousands of eyes and millions of ears. That is, all the beings, the sum total of all the beings, appear in the form of that cosmic person. And, well, it seems to us that's very natural, because we are also a person. God is a person like ourselves, just as we have a body, and we have arms, and we have legs, and 2 eyes. So also does God. He has a universal body. He has eyes, the sun and the moon, and the wind is his breath. And just as we have ourselves a mind, an individual mind, so God also has a mind. You can read in the Bhagavad Gita, God speaks his mind to the devotees. And that cosmic mind, the sum total of all the minds, the subtle matter of the universe. And God also, just as we have a soul that is an individual self, an I consciousness, so also God has a sense of soul, self, a universal, the universal I. And so we see it's very natural for us to have an affirmative, intellectual, intuitive affirmation to the existence of God. You don't have to believe in God, have faith in God. It just makes sense, that's all. What makes sense? You can't, if you don't believe in God, that doesn't make any sense. That is the law, there's law of the universe, that's the law universal. That is, what is the law? The law is what's here is there. Whatever is there is here. That's an ancient law of the Upanishads. The macrocosm mirrors the microcosm. And so this is Brahman, the god of Vedanta, the impersonal, personal god of Vedanta. So we have the Atman, and we have Brahman. Then we can ask ourselves, well, what is this God, how do we relate to this God? That is, does he have a name? Think of the cosmic man. He has millions of forms. He has millions of shapes and names. How can we connect with this God in a personal way? Well, another fundamental idea of this Vedanta philosophy. That is, that God has many names and forms. And the teaching of the Rig Veda, that is the most ancient scripture, religious scripture of the world, is Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. Truth is one. Sages call it. Brahman is called it. Why? You can't call him a man, because he's also a man and a woman. We can't call him any particular, he's not any particular form. or any particular name, but he can be called by all names. And Sri Ramakrishna gives us that homely example of the watering tank in old India. That is, they go for water to a big lake. And it may be on the side of that lake, there are different ghats, that as you come downstairs to get the water. Maybe on the north there is a family of Greek people, and on the west there's a family of Muslim people. In the south there's a family of Indian people. And from each one, the mother goes down to collect in the day, takes a Greek woman maybe takes a brass pot, goes down and fills it. And from the west, that is the Persian family, they come down and get a clay pot, collect the water, they call it pani. And the English family also, they come down and they collected their own jar to fill up with what they call water. Yeah, it's the same water. Whether we call it aqua or jal or pani or water. That water is the same name and the same the forms. All the names and forms are different, and yet it's the same water. It's a profound teaching, because truth, it's true. What is one? It's not that there is one person who is the supreme Lord of the universe. There is truth. The word here is satyam. Truth means that which is truth is very important in Vedanta. Truth, because the truth means that the truth with a capital T. That is, truth is eternal. Truth is unchanging. That's the nature of what is true. How do you know it's true? Because it's uncontradicted by any other forms of evidence. It always remains the same. So that's another basic concept, a core concept of this Vedantism, that God, people worship God, understanding is that there are many names and forms under which one can worship God. And this gives rise to another concept, which is called that of the Ishta Devata. Typical of this Vedantism, that means is that the idea is that you have if there are many gods, forms of gods, then which one can you connect with? Well, that depends on your own karma, on your own life path, on your own ethnicity, on your own ethnic background, your gender, everything, these components will determine what is the natural connection that you have with God. And you come to understand, with the help of your spiritual teacher, the nature of your God, introduced to them has a particular name and form, and under that name, that is the aspect under which you will worship God. That's your favorite aspect, we could say. And you put your whole soul devotion, one-pointed devotion on that form of God with great concentration and focus of your whole life, knowing also in the background there is the eternal principle. The truth is one. And sages call it by many names, and that people can worship God in many different names and forms. Everyone has that freedom to worship as they choose. Freedom of worship. Now we're looking here at the relationship here on this. We're talking here about the fundamental ideas that all Vedantists share. And another, of course, is that we're talking about the relationship with this cosmic person, that is the universal person, that is God, Ishwar, the impersonal, personal God. Another fundamental concept here is that there is an evolution in the concept of God. The idea of conception just means the idea that we have, that humankind has of what is God like. Well, historically, there's a whole evolution of that kind. God doesn't evolve. God doesn't change. God is the truth. It never changes. God is yourself. It never changes. But the conception of God and of yourself, there's an evolution in the conception. And we can understand it in our own experience. Well, in the beginning, we can see that we feel separate from God. We look up in the sky, we pray with our eyes upturned. God is somewhere a person, supernatural person who created this world. And that God is somewhere separate from us. But as time passes and as the conception evolves, then devotees discover that God is also within our hearts. That God has created the world, yes, but he's also entered into it. And he's become the heart of everything. And so therefore, devotee feels as if, yes, I am not separate from God, but I am a part of God. But as we continue on, that is, our conception of God continues to evolve. There are other saints and sages who discover that the individual soul is one with the universal soul. That is, there are dualists, there's dualism, there's qualified non-dualism, which we could call monism. And then there is non-dualism, which is where the discovery of the saints and the sages is that I am one with God, that I am God, and that the consciousness, which is the substratum of the individual, and the consciousness, which is the substratum of the universal, are one. That's non-dualism. That means that I am God. Well, these are different verses in the Upanishads, and in the course of history, we find many different interpretations of these verses, which ones are right and which ones are the correct version. But there need be no contradiction. There need be no disagreements here. It's all a beautiful harmony emerges. That's the teaching of Vedanta, that there is a harmony. In all of the scriptures, there's a universal harmony of views that emerges with a deeper understanding of our own spiritual consciousness. And we can just visualize ourselves as we begin a journey at the foot in the valley there, the mountains, and you could travel up from your view from the valley. We get up in the foothills. We see that our worldview is radically changed. It is quite different from what it was in the valley. As we continue on, we reach the summit, we find again our worldview may differ. And yet really, there's lower truths. There's a movement, not from untruth to truth, but from lower truth to higher truth. And so there is an evolution in the concept of God. that is in our personal relationship with God. This is part of this larger concept of the harmony of religions, the harmony of worldviews. Truth is one. Sages call it by many names. There are many different sectarian religions that maintain that, for example, that as our approach to God is that there is only one way to salvation. You've heard that kind of teaching. Vedanta is different from that, and this is that there are many ways to realize God, just as there are many names, just as God, we can evoke God with many names. We can visualize God having many forms. Similarly, we can approach God in many different spiritual paths. And this is a beautiful view which comes to us from the implicit in the Upanishads, explicit in the Bhagavad Gita, about the teachings of all of the different spiritual paths of the world. We can categorize kind of generally, a broad generalization, into 4 different categories which we call yogas, that is real intense spiritual practices, which you know very well know: Jnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga. These are different approaches, different kinds of spiritual practice, which we find exemplified in all the religions of the world. So it's a new way of looking at religion. What is religion? Religion is just yoga. True, real religion means yoga. And we find all of these different religions appearing in different forms of all spiritual practices. And the ideal of this Indian philosophy is universal harmony. That means is that even in the yogas, even in the approaches to God, that all these lead to the same goal, that all the roads lead to Rome, and that the ideal would be to practice all of the different forms of spiritual practice, maybe. That is to harmonize in our own personal practice all the different methods here of karma yoga and jnana yoga. And our ideal is the harmony of the yogas. And so that a beautiful harmony emerges from those concepts. Let's look here at what is the ultimate purpose of life. Why are we born on the earth? Where are we going? This is the universal philosophical question. Who am I? Who are all these other people? Where are we going? And the ideal of this Vedanta philosophy and religion is our goal is moksha. Moksha means I'm introducing a very small handful of Sanskrit words. That's okay. You'll find them in any Webster's desktop collegiate dictionary. Moksha just means freedom. That is, it means spiritual freedom. And it means, in particular, freedom through knowledge. Jesus says in the Bible that ye shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. What is the purpose of life then? The purpose of life is not happiness. The purpose of life is not unbounded, endless happiness. The purpose of life is knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Self-knowledge. God realization, which is realization of Brahman, which is called moksha. It's called freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from ignorance, freedom from mental turmoil, freedom from anger, hate, freedom from the bondage of our own actions and our own karma and all those things that are the consequences of our karma. That is, from the chains of karma that bind us to the great wheel, cycling around the great wheel of birth and rebirth, which is called samsara. Our goal here is freedom. Freedom, visualize a mountain. On the top of the mountain is the immortal city of Brahman. That is self-knowledge, self-realization, God-realization. There's only one mountain. All human beings and all mankind and all living things, every living thing has a soul, and all the souls are climbing the mountain. And everyone is at a different elevation. It is at a different place in their journey. Every soul can look back and see they have a whole life history that crisscrosses with all the other lines of life development. Everyone is on their own journey. They're conceptualizing as they look upward. They have they see a different aspect of the goal. That becomes their own personal life goal. But all are wending their way towards the same end, and that is freedom of the soul and of self-knowledge. And it is this goal which is the foundational teaching of all Vedanta philosophy. And that is a goal of our life, is to realize God, to realize ourself. To realize means to have an immediate, direct experience of our true nature. And this is the foundational teaching of the Vedanta philosophy and of Vedantism, that is the worldview of the Upanishads.
Lead us from illusion to truth and wisdom's sight. Lead us from the darkness that fills up the night. Lead us from death to endless life, to your heart of love, to your eternal light.
The subject next Sunday is the Chandi Part 2 oratorio presented by Swami Vedarupananda. Om Dyo Ho Shantihi Antariksha Ham Shantihi Prithvi Hi Shantihi Apa Shantihi O Shadaya Shantihi Vanaspataya Shantihi Vishwe Deva Shantihi Brahma Shantihi Sarava Shantihi Shantireva Shantihi Sa Me Shantiredhi Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Om, peace is in heaven, peace is on the earth, peace is in the sky and in the waters. The herbs and plants and trees are full of peace. The gods are peaceful. May this eternal universal peace enter our souls and beings. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all.